everybody, and welcome to a festive edition of VHS Showdown.
Hello. I'm feeling so festive.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm very festive too. It's very Christmassy at the moment.
Oh, so many mince pies.
Yes. A roaring fire. Put some chestnuts on there. Anybody for Ferrero Rocher?
I've got some eggnog here.
Have you?
Oh.
Cool. So for this festive edition, we decided we'd do a Christmas film. So at random, we picked one of us to pick the film. The criteria was just it had to be an 80s Christmas film. And it came to Tarby. Now, Tarb, what classic 80s festive film did you go for? What family favourite was it?
It suddenly dawned on me today how much shit I'm going to get about this. Alright, so straight out of the archives of my brain and my memory, I went for the absolutely unquestionably festive Vice Versa.
Oh, yeah. So maybe we all got memories of watching. Well, I think, once as a kid. I got a tiny memory of it. What about yourself?
I think I might have seen it or seen part of it, but I've not seen or heard anything about it since. Yeah.
Yeah, it was vaguely familiar to me. That's what about you, Al?
Never heard of it.
I've never even heard of it.
Never seen it. Knew nothing about it.
Well, I obviously didn't
Watched
know
it every Christmas.
Didn't know it as well as I thought I did. But I really guess it must have just been maybe I watched it at a Christmas show when I was a kid and it had a Christmas link to me. I don't know. So I kind of knew full well what I was going into, but couldn't have told you many lines from the film. But yeah, clearly massively misjudged the Christmas element of it. But, you know.
What a jolly film.
Who doesn't gather around at Christmas and watch Vice Versa?
Well, listen, so Al actually sort of in our little chat group, Al messaged and said, so I've never heard of it, is it a Christmas film?
I've never even heard of it.
When I said, well, it's as Christmassy as Trading Places because, you know, you get films that are based that are set around Christmas and not around the event of Christmas, but around Christmas time. Now, you've got to say there is some Christmas stuff
There
going
is
on.
2 shots with a Christmas tree in, and he mentions that he's got a present at the end, and that's it.
It's not even a fucking plot point in any of it. There's no, like...
At no point is Christmas brought up in it.
I mean,
That's just not a Christmas
You
film.
had fucking, like, Gremlins, fucking Christmas Vacation.
Die Hard. You could have even gone with fucking Lethal Weapon. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's exactly the thing. All those films are just so cliche, aren't they? They are just so cliche that you wouldn't have to watch them to talk about them.
And they're Christmas films.
Yeah.
Well, more so, yeah.
From the 80s.
But
I would say that
Which fills the criteria.
this doesn't qualify as a Christmas film.
you know, I've seen all of you today before we've done this, and fair play, you've all kept poker faces about this. 'Cause it was only when I was watching it tonight, I was like, yeah, this ain't Christmas. I mean, there's some tenuous Christmas connections. And it has been on at Christmas. You know, it will make...
I'm sure by the law of averages it probably has been.
It will make the Christmas cut because it does reference Christmas, but yeah, is it a Christmas film? Okay, no.
No,
but
not
we've
at
done
all.
it now. We've done it. We've gone down the hole.
Well,
Why don't we? You know, we could always just talk about Die Hard. We could all do that without watching it.
No. I mean, we've all seen it, so this is what we're here to review. So do you want to tell us a bit about...
I just want to put some sleigh bells over this bit. Here we go. Not those sleigh bells. Shit. Real ones. So it's 1988. Judge Reinhold and Fred Savage are the 2 lead cast. Judge Reinhold plays Fred Savage's dad. It is probably the first body swap film I ever saw.
Really?
Yeah.
But interestingly, this is one of those films, you know, like you get that thing in Hollywood
like
when...
Armageddon and fucking Deep Impact.
Yes, yeah. Or like, what was it, Dante's fucking Inferno, and what was the other Volcano one that came out the same...
Volcano,
yeah. And then Bug's Life and Ants. Hollywood studios have, like...
Yeah.
They all have the same idea. So what happens when they're pitching films around the studios and studios end up making their own ones. So I think this came out the same year as Big. And the other sort of body swap films, I think there was one with Dudley Moore that came out around the same time that I haven't even fucking seen. It was like Father Like Son. Then Dream a Little Dream, and then 18 again. So all of those like body swap films came out around the same time.
Didn't they remake that with Zac Efron?
Yes.
is that where I know it from then? Yeah. No.
And this was probably the biggest flop out of all of them.
It was like 10 million budget and it made 13 million, so it didn't lose money.
Oh, right. I know that Judge Reinhardt blames this film for the end of his career.
Was that his real name? Judge?
No, his dad used to call him Judge. I don't know what his real name is, but then so he used that as his name and he became a Hollywood actor. But obviously he had a lot of momentum from Beverly Hills Cop and that, and he was like the hot shit in Hollywood. But I think he's great in this. I think he does really good.
His dad called him Judge because he looked stern. His name is Edward Ernest Reinhold.
Oh, Ernest.
Yeah, go with Judge. So, Judge Reinhold plays the dad, Fred Savage is the son. Fred Savage lives with his mum most of the time. His mum and dad are separated, but his mum is going on vacation with a new husband, and so he has to spend the week with his dad. His dad works for a big sort of department store in Chicago again.
Yes.
So he's like a vice president, but he goes off and buys things for the company, and he goes to Asia where he acquires a load of stuff to take back to the department store. And while he's over there, he gets spotted by a couple of smugglers who have stolen and on the black market taken receivership of a mystical skull owned by llamas.
Yes.
Not four-legged furry llamas.
That skull is fucking cool. That
is
is
good.
a cool prop. So I do think I've seen this, but my only memory of it is that fucking skull that I've seen that before.
Yeah, those thieves broke into a fucking monastery
Temple or something, yeah.
and stole from monks.
Yes.
I mean, that's pretty
Pretty low, that.
I
it
think
is.
like criminals have sunk lower, to be fair.
true.
So they get that
True.
established. They sell it to a lady and a fella from America who are black marketeers, and they use Judge Reinhold's character to basically they swap their stolen skull for one of his things that he's buying, and in order to smuggle the skull back into America.
Do you recognise what the lady's out of?
Yeah.
Nah.
You kick yourself. Liar, liar.
Your Honor, I object.
You would!
Overactor!
Fucking hell.
The female lawyer.
Yeah, right. I was thinking of his secretary then. I was like, no.
And the guy's out of a lot of stuff.
He is.
He's out of Sopranos and he's out of UHF.
But yeah, I think he's one of those guys.
He's a bit like the
he's-
Chinese guy who always dies, isn't he?
He's in lots of stuff.
pops up.
Isn't he?
Yeah. So they get the skull back to America. Judge Reinhold is now in possession of this skull and takes it back to his apartment where his son is. So he's the kind of dad, he's always kind of like 10 minutes late to everything. He tries to get to his son's school concert at the beginning, but he's stuck in traffic and always ends up looking like he's not tried, but he kind of has.
There's big liar vibes about the whole film, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, very much so.
That Christmas concert was fucking off the hook.
It was lit.
That was for
It was
this.
fucking mad. Like at the end of it, they went fucking tits. The whole crowd were going mad.
So Charlie, played by Fred Savage, he's a drummer in a band, and I remember even as a kid watching this and thinking that kid is miming that song. Because you see the lead singer, he's not in time at all. But the version they're playing isn't even that good. So it's like if you're going to mime something, at least get a good version, get a CD version or
Were
something.
you sat there with a paper hat on, Christmas cracker in hand, watching that and thinking he was miming that?
Really soured my Baileys.
So this yuppie dad, he's got a bit of a funny relationship with his kid. He's sort of quite obsessed with business and work and.
Yeah, very
Blah,
much
blah,
so.
blah.
He's not a very well practiced dad. He's not.
He's-
He doesn't. His kid's like 11 now, and so he's not obviously had a lot to do with him. When he comes round to stay, when his mum goes on holiday, it's not kid friendly. It's not set up for him at all.
He did get the Christmas tree out though.
But he didn't, did he? His
No.
missus did.
Yeah.
He's the very typical 80s sort of that we've seen across quite a few of the films where it's all based around that fucking yuppie-ish sort of
Yeah.
suit wearing
Lifestyle for money
Yeah,
first.
company
family.
man. isn't he?
Yeah.
And that sort of comes across in their relationship, so it's quite strained, and it very quickly sets the mood that Charlie is always being disappointed by his dad, and this comes to a head in a little argument they have where they both start sort of bitching about their own lives and saying that they wish they had each other's lives, and at this point they both touch the skull and whammo.
That's a great
Fucking-
80s special effect.
It is, isn't it? The
Yeah.
metamorphosis
It's like
is
classic,
fucking brilliant.
some classic 80s animations and
Yeah, a lot of people would have done a big fucking flash of light and it was just changed, but it was like you're watching them. It was like watching American Werewolf in London. It was like
well, it
watching-
wasn't that fucking good.
you were watching it happen.
I've got an issue with that. Why did they go through all of that? They could have just swapped minds.
It wouldn't
Do you know
have
what I
been
mean?
so.
If you were a younger member of the audience, you'd be like, "Why is he talking like that now?" I think it would have been more confusing.
I was just like, that seems like a massive waste of time. Just do a flash of light and then they've changed minds.
Well, I
don't
found
know.
the film quite slow up until this point. It was a bit of a slow burn. This one. I wasn't really going for it, but from this point on, I thought we got way better. It stepped up a gear. But it is weird because you said 4 kids, but the whole film isn't really.
There's a lot of swearing and stuff.
Yeah,
in
it's
it.
not really pitched for
But,
kids.
but at the same time, it's got that Ferris Bueller non-cynical storyline. Where, do you know, even the villains aren't that villainous. So
No,
it's,
yeah,
do you know what I mean? So I mean, there is a little bit of swearing, like Ferris Bueller, but it's like very feel-good all the way through, isn't it?
But it's not aimed at kids.
There is a lot of more swearing back in 80s kids films.
Yeah,
Look! It isn't even dented! Oh shit, what are we gonna do now?
Well, you had no 12, didn't you?
Wasn't Gremlins the first 12?
Well, in America, you
Is
had
that right?
PG-13,
I dunno.
didn't you?
Yeah, but like you could get away with quite a bit more in a PG, couldn't you? Really, because obviously without that 12 or whatever it is, it was either
Yeah.
that or
Well, fucking
15. wasn't
Jaws was a U for a while, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's mad. Jaws is fucking well gory.
Obviously, the version that I've had in my head of this film, I must have had the edited for TV version, because I've owned this film on DVD for probably the best part of 20 years, but I have never watched it.
Not on Christmas? You don't whack it on? And...
It's always on Christmas. Save the wear and tear. It'll be on right before Die Hard.
Right after the Queen's speech. Like.
Yeah, crack open the woodpecker, here comes, vice versa.
So they have their transformation scene. That's pretty good when they swap sort of bodies. And I think the whole reaction, the way they're sort of screaming and the way Judge Reinhold plays it when he's panicking, you can imagine talking to your kid and being like that, and the kid being like, "Oh, what's going on?" You know,
It's just first of all, it's to look at his dick.
Yeah, well, you would, wouldn't you?
He looks at his dick.
I do feel like all the way through the film, their fucking role reversals are brilliantly acted.
I think, they're pretty good, although I was watching it with Bill, and I was thinking they're both doing a good job, and then Bill's like, "Daddy, this is really fake. This is really fake and really weird." That's exactly what he said.
Maybe that's just the aging though, because when I watched it as a kid, I never thought that.
Yeah, I thought Judge Reynolds particularly was amazing.
I thought they both were.
Yeah,
It's so hard to get a young kid to play an adult. You actually believe that it's an older man's brain in there doing the talking, and he is really convincing.
And when he's drinking his martini and shit.
Yeah.
They both do a really, really good job. If their performances hadn't been so good, the two of them carry the film completely, don't they?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It would be a terrible, terrible film without them. Christmas would be so much worse off.
Oh, it'd be terrible. Ruin your Christmas.
So they have their body swap, and then it's just before he has to go to school, isn't it? So this is a bit, it would be like, I ain't fucking going in school. I'd be like, no.
You just wouldn't leave the house.
No, you'd be like, you mean to work on what the fuck has just happened here? You know.
Yeah, well, there'd be very little story if they did that, I suppose. So, yeah, Charlie, now in Judge Reinhold's body, decides he's bigger than his dad now, so he sort of lays down the law and he's like, right, well, you're going to school.
I kind of like the way that they use, like, the school days to show the progression of how they're sort of fitting into their roles. Because obviously on the first day they go there, they're sort of like, they haven't got a clue what they're doing and they're putting their foot in it and all that sort of stuff. And then as they sort of start going into work or school more across like the course of the film, they're obviously like, there comes a point where they are like comfortable with it, and then the next one is like they sort of overcome those issues at the end of that work day or school day. It's quite nice to see that.
He gets those bullies, doesn't he?
Yeah. He has his victory moment, doesn't he, by having the bullies and all that sort of stuff. And of course, on the other hand, the kid as well talks to the love interest at the end.
Yeah.
It's quite nice.
The plot thread that I think they didn't push any further was that girl that the kid fancied.
He saves her from those bullies,
yeah,
doesn't he? And then
yeah.
she puts that thing saying, "I love you," and then drops it on the floor and the teacher picks it up and she's like, "Ooh," which is a bit odd.
Which is weird because she looked like she enjoyed that too much, the thought of a young boy fancying her.
Yeah, it was a bit strange.
She was a harrowing looking lady as well.
Oh, yes, she was.
Looked like a scarecrow.
She did.
Did anyone notice the whole Grey Poupon thing?
Have you got a Grey Poupon?
It's Poupon, I think, but I believe.
In the restaurant, he wants Grey Poupon
And
with
then
his
he
pasta,
asks for it
which is-
again. But I'm not
Isn't it
too
like a mustard?
Well, yeah,
Yes,
it's Dijon mustard,
yeah.
isn't it? It's a type
So
of
he's
Dijon
just
mustard.
asking for it at his school lunch. He's just asking if they've got any to go on his...
Yeah.
Well, I think the first time I ever heard that expression, Grey Poupon, was Wayne's World.
Wayne's World.
Yeah.
It's quite a random thing to ask for,
No,
especially for like Wayne's World to reference it.
Yeah.
It's quite reference heavy, isn't
I
it?
think the Americans, was there like a trailer for the Grey Poupon in America or something?
Pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon? But of course.
And in Wayne's World, they do pull up next to like a Rolls Royce with a very Monopoly-looking guy in it. So I think it's probably like the most quintessentially English thing they can think of. But obviously, it's a nice little link. It gets mentioned twice in that film. It gets mentioned when Judge Reinhold's himself in the restaurant. So it sort of sets you up for knowing that he likes that. And then again, when he's a kid and he's just in a school cafeteria, but still wanting the richer things in life.
Set up, payoff.
So he has his first day at work and he sort of comes in, doesn't he? And he fires that crossbow in the shop, doesn't he? And takes that thing. That did make me laugh. Then he jumps on the drums. That guy's got that sort of like electric synthesizer.
It's a guitar, isn't it?
It's not a keytar. It's got no keys on it. It's more like a digital pad. Like
I looked into that, so it was actually worth, because they say it was like $7,000. That's the price it actually was. But the music coming out of it is not that guitar, because the sound it actually made sounded nothing like a guitar, and so they overdubbed an actual guitar playing over it. I'd like to hear what it did sound like.
If you wanted something to epitomise the 80s, that fucking synth guitar.
Yeah, I would quite like one of those. It'd be fucking cool. So he jumps on the drums of that bloke and they have a good old fucking jam.
That bloke on the keyboard, how much cock was
No,
it?
it was terrible.
he wasn't.
I was like, what's he going to do now? It's like, merp, merp, merp. I was like, fucking hell.
He was just fucking enjoying the moment.
He was.
Got in.
he was really getting into it.
Well, they got a whole fucking crowd going, didn't they?
He I don't know if it was just me, but I think that keyboard player gave off a little bit of pedo vibes. when he was going for it, he was like, ugh. He looked
like a student teacher.
Yeah, it was really odd. Terrible at the keyboard.
Doesn't make him a paedophile.
No, you're right. No, I mean, I'm not accusing him. I said he was given a
Paedophile. All that shenanigans attracts the attention of the big boss.
He wasn't
so
happy.
all the way throughout this film, there are these kind of like three, I don't know, what would you call them?
Stooges.
Ass lickers.
Yin Yangs.
Yeah, but there's the three real yuppies, and they're always waiting for Judge Reinhold's character to fail so they can jump in, and they come downstairs to see what's happening with this whole hoo-ha that's going on the music floor.
What
And-
absolute pieces of shit as well.
yeah.
It was a fucking really good shot when they all were coming down the escalator.
It was.
such
Yeah,
a,
that was
such a
cool,
cool
yeah.
shot.
It's supposed to be fucking Christmas, and there's someone having an impromptu concert in his.
Well, it was hard to
fucking
tell
shop.
whether it was Christmas or not, to be fair.
Well,
so
Yeah.
supposedly quotation marks.
There's not even a Christmas song in it.
I would forgive everyone for not remembering it was Christmas.
True. But come down, poo-pooing the band.
It's in a music store as well. You know, you would expect there to be some sort of demonstration available.
Well, you would think so. There was a couple of decent bits in that actually when they were sort of like showing the rest of the department store.
Yeah.
There was a little bit with like the makeup people, and they were two bad guys came in and they were like giving them
Bit of
like
lotion on
talks.
his face.
It's quite. It's quite.
He's just,
that's quite
he's just
fun.
got like a fucking
Yeah,
death
he's-
stare
yeah,
on, and
yeah.
she's like putting like fucking lotion around his eyes.
One bit that made me think, oh, I have seen this, was the bit with the suitcase when he presses the button and the two blades come out of the side. I was like, that was one of my strong memories.
Because the guy who was selling all of those, it was like fucking.
He was like
Q or whatever his name is.
I suppose they were setting up the pen thing for the end.
Yeah, it was such a random thing to have in a
What a
department
store.
store, like spyware and all that. And because at one point he was trying to sell that briefcase, but he was like, "Oh yeah, you can release like toxic gas with it."
It's an optional handle to put a poisonous gas in your choice. Who left a cocked crossbow?
Yeah, they were asking for trouble
on
there,
display.
You won't get that night up.
It
No.
would have been a very different film if he'd killed a man and then had to be on the road. But also, Fred Savage finds out, doesn't he, that
He's cheeky, Fred Savage, isn't he?
He is. Well, he's
cheeky boy.
Of course, from the Wonder Years, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's got a
His
real
brother-
squishy face.
Princess Bride was like his first breakout
Yeah,
role.
and The Wizard.
His brother Ben Savage was in Boy Meets World, and they've got a really similar acting style.
I always thought they were the same people.
And then his sister Anne Savage, and then his auntie Lily, and then his dad Macho Man Randy.
Anyway,
Barely a smile. Barely a festive smile from Tarby.
Tis the season to be jolly, Tar.
So Fred Savage finds out he's there, and he gets a limo, doesn't he? He gets the phone off the secretary at school, doesn't he? Just takes it off, and all the kids are like, "Whoa!" When he does it, rings his limo, and then he's like, "Burn rubber, pal," or whatever in the car.
well, that would never
Say-
happen either. That guy like floors it on a main road just because a kid told him to.
He'd lose
Yeah.
his job.
Yeah, he swerved.
His security, possibly his wife,
And
his
it-
children. He'd lose them all.
Yeah, you don't want that at Christmas.
No, fuck no.
And he thought the kid was the right prick. So when he got to the car, he
There's a Father Christmas who's Fred Savage gets out, and the Father Christmas is like, "Is he famous? He's gonna be. I'm gonna kill him."
So that was a quite good thing they do a few times about people just thinking that the kid's a fucking dick because he is acting like a bit of a twat the whole way through. So he comes in and sees his dad on the drums, and you think, oh no, he's fucked it, his boss is going to go mad. But it turns out the mum of the guy on the synth guitar is a big spender in the shop.
The big boss is like, "Well done. I wouldn't have recognised the boy."
Did you notice the three guys who were talking to the dad or son? And there was a
the
guy
gun pops
holding a
up.
gun.
Yeah.
He doesn't do it, he just shows him like he's like going like,
I laughed out loud at that.
Yeah,
I
it's
thought that
fucking
was
great.
just funny.
He just pops up. And it's like,
he was just fucking like showing him the gun.
He threatens him before, doesn't he, with the gun?
brilliant.
Doesn't realise he's actually threatening him, does he?
one of those other yuppies at the end. He stood behind them all as cover.
Yeah.
And then they all walk away, and he's just left holding the gun. The one yuppie goes, "Handguns are in sporting goods, sir."
Yeah, I did laugh out loud at that bit. I thought it was very funny.
Those three yuppies, when that new intern comes, like, she sure has got an available mouth.
Oh, that's weird.
A fucking available mouth.
That's a HR issue right there, isn't it?
Fucking hell.
I've just finished watching The Secret of My Success, and I think this is just 80s films, isn't it?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
like, you know,
Problematic. Then what was the next bit? Because the teacher finds that note and everything, and he's done real well in his exams, he gets called in, doesn't he?
He goes round and gets those three bullies first of all.
I thought Judge Reinhold played perfectly when he burst into the bullies, because he was playing an 11-year-old trying to play an adult tough guy, and it was fucking class. He was, I thought he did that so well.
there was a lot of that, like, that I'd never thought of before, but you are watching, however old he would have been, 30-something, trying to...
He's 31.
Was he?
Is he?
So yeah, trying to like act out what an 11-year-old would do, and it's kind of like his facial expressions, and he looks around for approval and things like that. He looks really insecure in his own skin.
If they were to do a live action version of the Muppets, he would be an amazing Beaker. He's got
Judge
the
Ryan.
look of
Yeah.
Beaker.
The only roles I've ever seen him in, though, he plays this slightly sort of dim-witted guy. Like all
But it's
else.
like Gremlins and fucking Beverly Hills Cop. It's
Fuck,
like
of course he's in Gremlins, isn't he?
Yeah.
Fucking course he is.
playing the same role.
Well, imagine that was him in his youth before he
Maybe, before he
to the
moved.
big city.
Oh yeah, he was in the bank, wasn't he?
Yeah. That's a good Christmas film. Yeah.
Always gets overlooked, that
Well,
one.
that'd be a great one to talk about Christmas, wouldn't it? Second guessing your choice now, aren't you?
No. I'm fully aware. I've got nowhere to go with this one.
Is the writing on the wall?
I just sat there like this. Fuck.
So he sort of sorts the bullies out, tells them off, then he goes in to see the teacher, and this scene's really, really funny.
Sparrow face.
Yeah, because he's like all just acting sort of like a kid, she's trying to talk to him, and there's the bit when she says about...
He's wasting his time with music.
Yeah, and he's sort of having a go at it, doesn't he? That was really good. But then there's a bit where she says...
I think that could be another reason why he's distracted.
I think your son fancies me over. He's like, no way!
It's her face as well. It's
Her
fucking,
face of disappointment. Yeah, brilliant.
When you suggested vice versa, I'd never heard of it.
I've never even heard of it.
So I did go and watch the trailer on YouTube, and that bit is in the trailer where he's like, no way! And like, when I watched the trailer, I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, this is going to be fucking terrible. This is going to be fucking terrible.
There'd be no Somewhere in Time, would it?
Well, I mean, it's a classic.
That is classic.
I did like the little accent when he's in the toilets and he's like, "Hey, butthead, come here."
Classic fucking insult buttheads, isn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't get that, no?
He does a few weird insults, there's like spew bucket, or there's all a load of weird ones in there.
When the dad is in the kid's body for the first time and gets in that shared ride, that kid in the backseat just looks at him and goes, "Raccoon turd." Fucking hell, mate. Spicy.
They play a little bit of ice hockey. He has ice
Where
hockey
is that?
practice.
It's a full-size fucking ice hockey
Yeah,
rink.
man. Have
Maybe
you-
it was like a day out.
But is that built onto the school?
Yeah,
Or-
yeah. Have you ever seen like the college American football over there? It's fucking huge.
Yeah,
they have
they
like
love that shit
30
over
odd
there.
thousand people
I
there.
know,
Like.
but that I get, but I mean hockey. But it's a high school.
Yeah, but it's Chicago, isn't it? It's the ice hockey fucking area, isn't it, around now, I think.
Yeah, they love it. And the teacher there is fucking really abusive.
He's an 80s PE teacher.
He was clearly a nam, wasn't he?
He was
He saw
missing
some
those real
shit.
short shorts, though. That's what would have made him a 80s PE teacher.
That'd be horrendous on an ice rink, though, wouldn't
It
it?
would,
Real
wouldn't
short
it?
shorts.
He does get hit in the dick with
Yes.
the hockey stick.
The cock and balls on it.
Yeah, which is fantastic. I mean, people getting hit in the dick is always funny.
Yeah, that was funny. I laughed out loud during this film, probably about 5 or 6 times. There is, when it's funny, it was actually really, really funny.
Yeah.
I think the dick thing did make me laugh.
I
Were you
do
pretending it was your dick?
In the school as well, Fred Savage, he's got his mate who's like a fucking ticket tout
Yes.
in the school, selling tickets to gigs that none of these kids would
That's
be able to go
fucking
to.
way
you know.
earlier, I think, though.
Proper Artful Dodger type.
The first time I saw this film, I remember thinking how old he looked because he's got a flat cap and fucking suit and jacket on and everything. It's
But that's the other thing with that school. You got this kid like touting fucking tickets going around, and then the teacher goes to start a lesson, and there's some kid just with a fucking porno at the back.
Yeah, it's really
Well,
bring me a dirty magazine.
It's not expressly a porno, is it? It's implied.
When it is.
It could have been anything.
Filthy maggot.
The stones on that kid to sit at the back of the class at school just reading a fucking
Maybe it was
porno.
something like FHM of the 80s or
Maybe.
something. Do you know what I
I
mean?
reckon it was like fucking Playboy or
Razzler.
something. Yeah, but if a kid did that at school at that age, you'd be like, what a fucking legend. It's just reading a fucking porno at the back of the class.
But if it was a porno, she'd have gone fucking mad. She wouldn't have been like, I'm confiscating that.
She's a bit fruity though, isn't she? She probably gave it.
She did get a bit fucking gaping when she got a letter.
I love note.
There's a few odd bits.
So after they have been to the ice hockey practice, then he receives the tickets for that gig that he got off that lad. And he just so happened to have a date, didn't he, with his girlfriend.
They're set up as a couple in the beginning, and then as the film progresses, you can see she's not entirely sure.
Her mouth is becoming less available.
Yes.
She's having doubts about their relationship.
Their unit, isn't it?
Yes.
That's what she says, yeah.
So he blindsides her with this anyway, because now we've got to remember that this is an 11-year-old kid that she's now dating in her boyfriend's body, and basically he takes her to this concert that he'd bought tickets for that his dad wasn't going to take him to.
That fucking band.
Malice.
Were they
They're
actual
a real band,
Yeah, they were
yeah.
a real band. They were all in their like fucking. They were all in like the mid to late 40s.
Well, I mean, you look at any band from the 70s or 80s and they look fucking well
They're
old.
old as
You've
shit,
seen the
aren't they?
fucking video to Mr. Blue Sky. Fucking mad.
That sort of 80s hair metal is just such a weird genre, isn't it? It's just.
A lot of music genres are fucking weird though when you think about it, aren't
Yeah,
they?
but it's odd that it was so big, isn't it? Because it was that sort of stuff, like Def Leppard, all that sort of things like that, which is so big in the 80s and in America. But
think
looking back, it's fucking awful.
We were talking about this, weren't we, the other day?
Yeah.
Like fucking Scorpion or Saxon or whatever and all that sort of stuff. Like
Everybody got fucking suckered into that, I think, pretty much. There was very few people who weren't doing massive hair or fucking
I mean, it's an iconic look, like, but it's just fucking, in hindsight,
odd.
it's quite weird. But so they go to this gig and they're having a fucking whale of a time.
She realises he's not quite the workaholic relationship dodger that she thought he was.
she's enjoying this newfound
Zest.
yes.
And he crowd surfs, doesn't he?
That's when like he gets his arm around the lead singer who's got like his hairline starts at like the back of his head. It's like massive long hair at the back. Anyway, yeah, so he gets an autograph as well.
He falls asleep in the car, doesn't he, on the way back?
He does things that a child would do. Oh, bless him, he's had a busy day, he's gone to sleep in the car. He's just been to a rock concert, he's going to sleep when an 11-year-old would pass out.
Yeah, but something Fred Savage is drinking, he's still in the body of a kid. If you had a fucking martini as a kid, you'd be
para.
fucking leathered.
Yeah.
He's got no tolerance to alcohol.
No.
He'd like, be absolutely fucking smashed.
Yeah, so they're on the way back.
She sort of says, "I've seen a new side of you now," and let's,
She
you know,
kind of opens up to him, doesn't it?
She wants to get on him.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes,
But
yeah,
he's asleep, so that avoids that problem in the car. He hasn't got to say yes or no. Then when he gets back to the apartment, she's trying to be all nice. Oh, we shouldn't wake Charlie up, let's be quiet. And she starts to kiss him, and it's fucking an awkward, horrible looking kiss. He does that pretty well as well. It's
it
like
was weird to watch as well. He's like, "Oh, you know that's a kid."
But the other thing is, she's put on a lot of lipstick there. It's like, if it wasn't him, it still would have been weird if he had that much lipstick all over his face.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure that if she was doing that, he's going off in his pants.
I'm not sure.
Come on! She was all over him, and he was. I mean, he wasn't loving it.
Well, first
but
of all, like, I mean, 11 is, I mean, it is like on the cusp. But also, when you're 11, how old is she, like fucking 30 something? She would seem like 15. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
If you just drop an email to viceversa@christmas.com, you can ask them all the questions you want. Say, did he in his pants? And they will say yes or no.
Again, if they wanted to make it more Christmassy, this bit could have happened under mistletoe. Then that would have made sense. You've got a bit of a festive sort of thing, a bit more reason why
He was a
had to kiss her.
minimalist. He didn't want all that Christmas fuss. He had a tree.
He's an atheist, I think.
So anyway, while this is all going on, the dad in Charlie's body has been peeking out of the den doors and has seen this kiss going on and is chucking his dad some serious daggers. Did you see his face? And
You wouldn't be happy, would you?
No.
He could have walked out and stopped it.
Well, he busts out in a little bit, does he?
After they stopped,
Yeah,
he could have stopped it immediately by walking out of the room.
he could have.
Yeah,
He watched it happen.
Voyeur.
It's a Freudian nightmare, this, isn't it? It's,
Yeah, so anyway, well, he sees it all happen and then bursts out of the doors.
sorry, I've just had this thought. So you mind
No.
swap with your mate. Could you then watch you bang your missus, but it's actually your mate's mind? Would that be weird? Well, it is weird.
It's
isn't
going
it?
to be definitely going to be weird.
Yeah, it would just be, your body would just be the vessel for their mind. It would just be like...
I just wonder what
It'll be
stuff
like-
you could watch yourself do.
Well, this
if
is
it was
my.
somebody else's mind in your body that you'd be okay with.
Whose
What
mind
level?
would it be?
I don't know. Say somebody else's mind was in your body and you were in that and you were watching them as you go and doing weird stuff you would never do.
This is my issue with like body swap sort of things, because even if it were to happen, your mind would literally melt at the thought of like you just would not be able to fucking cope with that happening, would you?
You'd have a breakdown, wouldn't you? You would have a
You would,
breakdown.
you
don't
would
know that.
literally, you would.
don't know that.
You'd think you've gone fucking mad, wouldn't you? You both would.
I think if you were both there and you could just be like, right, fuck, this has happened. I mean, once light started coming out of a skull, I think you'd be like, right, well, okay, something magic's happened here.
Would you
Let's
immediately put your hands back onto the
Well,
skull and
listen,
and do the same
try-
thing?
is that
You
not
would not leave
something...
the house until you sorted it out, would you?
Yeah, is that not something you would try? Like, what were we doing? It's like, well, we're both holding it. Brilliant. Problem solved.
What authorities would you ring? I mean, would you ring the police or
Men
would you
in-
ring
Men
the
in
doctor and be like, fucking hell,
Men
I
in-
need the police down here right now?
No, I get Men in Black, 100%.
How'd you get them?
Kidnap an alien. Wait for them to come and save it.
You're making this real hard. I think I maybe would a psychologist. I don't know who to speak to.
Exorcist.
Well, they do go to somebody, don't they?
Well,
They
the
do.
Tibet,
Did
the
you?
monk.
Did you? The monk was fucking Lo Pan out of fucking Big
Yeah.
Trouble in Little China, wasn't
Yeah.
he?
No, the guy
Don't
from Big Trouble
remember
in Little China is the guy right at the beginning.
Yes.
This is a different Chinese man.
Oh, right, I was
Are
going to say...
you saying
he
that-
did- yeah, I didn't think he looked like a...
You're not saying that. But Big Trouble in Little China guy on the internet, it says that he's supposed to be an actor who's been in like more films than anyone else or something,
Really?
or close to it. He's been in like 230 films.
He's in The Golden Child, isn't he?
He's in.
That's one.
If you look
Is it-
through
is
his
it
fucking
Jamie-
filmography, he's in any film that requires an
Chinese
Oriental.
man.
Well, he's Chinese, but he plays like Japanese people as well. And
His surname is Hong.
I remember him and like the dead Chinese guy, the one who always dies.
Oh, the stunt man from Die Hard.
From
That's a good
everything.
Christmas film.
and he's in Lethal Weapon as well, which is another good Christmas
That's
film.
at Christmas, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's in Big Trouble in Little China, which has got less Christmas in it than vice versa.
Marginally.
Anyway, so he watches the kiss from the den, and then he bursts out and shouts he feels sick in order to split them up. And then his dad says, "I'll go get you a drink, or can you go and get me a drink?" Sends
So
him
we
off.
got Evian in the fridge.
Yeah, when he comes back with tap water. But meanwhile, the dad in the kid's body has sat down with his partner, who doesn't know that he's the kid, and he starts sort of telling her how he feels, but he's doing it through his son's body, and she's getting really caught up in the moment, and literally there's eye contact. He leans in and she's going for it.
I don't know if she's going for it.
I
think she
was halfway there.
She leant in as much as he did.
I think she was just confused. I don't think she was going to go for it.
I think it did look like she was going to go, and this was a bit that was weird. Like, oh, hang on. This is odd. I don't think it came across as subtle as they intended. Yeah,
there should have been no movement whatsoever. That if the eye contact was that, I would have been like, "Oh, that's her looking into him and seeing the grown man." But the lean in of any description was.
Yeah, if they had sort of had that running underneath the story of does she know
does she know him so well?
That would have some sort of relevance, but it did seem as if they were both going to
That would have been a not too hard, easy to pull. Another dynamic of the film was her like having these moments being like, "Oh, do I?" You know.
Well, shortly after this, there's a whole bit where his mum comes home early and she bursts into.
She's at Malcolm in the Middle.
Yes.
Oh yes, she is. And when she comes into the house, she sees her son who's like drinking a martini.
He's got like a fucking treble martini, hasn't he? But you
and
would
he's
have
like, "Oh shit!"
Again, another word I forgot that was in there. And all the bits I'd ever seen, I could remember that were all like really soft. There's no swearing in it, so it was like, wouldn't you just have been like, "Oh, this is for Dad." It's like, "Dad, I've got your drink."
Yes.
Yeah. But
and then
Marshall, he is drinking.
So he has to move back in with his mum, doesn't he? And she takes him early because she thinks he's been letting him fucking drink and stuff, and like doing whatever he wants. And so so he's living there, isn't it?
So they're going to see that librarian guy, but did you recognise who he was?
The landlord.
Yeah.
It took me fucking ages to work out who he was.
He's got a real distinct face, that guy, isn't he?
He's a lot younger in this, isn't he?
Got a real Bob Ross going on.
Yeah.
He was a professor at the Field Museum in Chicago, which is home to the most well-preserved T-Rex skeleton.
Yes,
Skellington.
It had a bit
of
that.
Skeleton.
I've never seen it before. Actually,
it's called Sue.
Dino Watch, but there's a little bit of rib cage at the front. I've never seen on a T-Rex.
I've seen it. I've been there.
Have you seen?
I've been there and had my photo taken with Sue.
Wow. So they take the skull to this museum and give it to the guy from Spider-Man 2.
He knows a llama who quit after the Chinese invasion.
Yes.
So he wants to take it to him.
Yeah.
So Charlie and his dad, they both agree to leave the skull with him. This is when they visit the high-tech bit of the store.
Well, no, the bad guys are about to kidnap him, aren't they? They drive up to kidnap Fred Savage, but his dad turns up in the car and grabs him.
That's right. So yeah, they make it to the department store where they go looking at all the James Bond shit, and this is where they've got the suitcase with the optional gas handle and stick-out knives and all that. Which, when I was a kid, thought, wouldn't it be great to have that stuff on sale here? You know, you could buy it in America. Then I grew up a bit and looked at it. I was like, how fucking ridiculous. And then now I'm right back to believing they do it again. You could probably go and buy your butter in one aisle and then your suitcase with knives.
Oh yeah, they have those mad stores in America.
Next door.
Well, we had Chads in Hereford, didn't we?
Yeah, hardcore. Makeup upstairs, kids downstairs. So
they had a great toy section.
They did. It was fantastic. Yeah. Everybody loved Chads. Anyway, so they're at the high-tech section and they find a transmitter and receiver, and basically Charlie's going to hide in the back room with like a headset on it and talk to his dad. So he goes into this meeting, starts giving answers, and then a couple of minutes in, the baddies kidnap Fred Savage, who very calmly sort of, you can hear him shouting on the thing, "I'm not going to put up a fight." He's like, he probably thought out his answers really quickly, like, "There's no need for violence."
But imagine being like that big, and there's like a giant grabbing you, and you wouldn't be able to do anything.
I never thought about that. Like, fuck. But yeah, so they kidnap him now.
And that leaves Judge Reinhold to sort of deliver his speech on his own, doesn't he? Well, the's something here as well that I thought was going to be a plot point, and it was the bit about, the toys.
The moose.
And he was like, they break after 20 minutes, and he makes this decision to recall them. And this is the one that's going to crop up in the meeting, isn't it, when he does his...
Yeah, I think that was just to sort of erode his position of authority by making incompetent decisions.
Oh, I thought it was going to come back and it was going to end up being a really good decision again. I thought they were going to be like, oh, now a load of people are saying this is an amazing thing to do at Christmas.
He's on very thin ice with that. He's recalled 100,000 things. They don't give him any credit for it. Nothing positive ever comes of it.
He does use it as a sort of his redemption at the end, though, doesn't he? He uses it in his sort of final speech.
Yeah.
He does, but also his final speech is a bit weak. They say, right, how much of our money have you spent on this South China Seas investment? And he's like, 6.4 million. And they're like, right, what's the most we've ever spent before? And they're like, 1.2 million. So he's blown this massive budget. And then he turns around and he goes, and now you're telling me that if that doesn't work, he's going to get fired? Well, that's just really unfair.
That sucks.
That's fucking 6.4 million quid, mate. You know, if it doesn't work, yeah, you're probably not the right man for the job. That's his heartfelt argument.
I feel like that bit could have been better. That speech he did could have been written in a better way.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be the kid doing the one really grown-up thing, isn't it? He saves his dad's job.
Yeah.
And it's just could have been so much more.
It could have been a speech about the spirit of fucking Christmas, and then it would have been that would have made way more sense. But he just kind of storms out in a strop. And
it would have been out of place in this film, though. Something about Christmas.
He strops off, and they're like, "Oh yeah, better let him do it then." You know, so it was like he was pandering to this fucking paddy that this bloke's had.
Yeah, it's not a strong case for giving him 6.4 million.
No.
You'd have been a bit like, well, look at him, he's gone now.
He didn't even want to fight for his fucking job. He left.
Is he coming back? I think he's gone home.
So what I did like was when Fred Savage rings him when he's kidnapped, he's like, "All right, Dad, don't panic." He's like, "You've been kidnapped." And he starts like, which is what you can imagine your kid doing if that happened.
The baddie was like getting freaked out, but Fred Savage was telling him all this stuff that he shouldn't know.
Yeah, because there's that other one weird line. He's like, "Oh, he says he's a father," and she's like,
"Horny little bastard." Yeah, that's another line again that I didn't know anything of, but that makes more sense.
It's like he's fucking 11. I think he got no one pregnant. And so they arrange like a rendezvous, don't they, to exchange the skull for the kid. But the problem is they haven't got the skull, have they? Because they've given it to the guy
skull
from
is with
Spider-Man landlord.
Yeah, but the Spider-Man landlord gave it to that sort of mystic monk.
How do they get the skull back?
They get off the Chinese guy.
Yeah, but you don't see that though, do you?
At the end, when Judge Reinhold is sat down talking to Charlie, he says, the monk says, we both have to be touching it at the same time, but you don't see him tell him
He's
back.
got it in a rucksack, isn't he? That he swaps at the train
because
station.
the scene afterwards, they start like the whole sort of chase, and I was like, I must have missed how they got it.
They get it off that Chinese guy in the greenhouse, don't they?
Right,
okay.
And then they do the swap, so it's now in the possession of the baddies. Now, this is something else I didn't get. When they're sat there talking to each other on the train, she's like, "Oh, you get to go on all the glamorous trips."
Their relationship's a bit rocky, isn't it?
Yeah, but she says, "Don't tell me you haven't got women there, that's great, you know, try swapping winter in New York." And he goes, "New York, I wish." And then they touch it. Where's the fucking thing in that where they're like saying they want to swap bodies? It's kind of like they're talking more about...
He should have turned into New York.
And New York should have appeared in his clothes.
Well, they're talking about switching roles, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
I just thought it would have been better, like saying
skull.
you get to travel all over the world in the sun and I have to freeze my ass off. God, it'd be great to be you. Yeah, it would be great to be you.
I mean,
they could have done so much
but
more.
the thing is that skull in particular, it swaps people. It doesn't grant wishes. It swaps people. That's what they're talking about. The other one wants to be, and then he says, "I wish," and that's enough. I think
it's very flim-flam with its willy-nilly with its fucking stuff.
It's a skull from fucking Thailand, so it wouldn't speak English anyway. Do you know what I mean? So
magic is magic.
It's magic, and it just picks up the intent of the two people. She wishes she was him. He wishes he was her, and that's they swap.
What do you suppose the original intent of that thing was?
Why was it made?
Why was it made?
It'd be like, I've had enough of being the receiver tonight.
Jesus.
It's like
you want to be the power bottom.
It's like, boy, I wish I was the power bottom. I wish you were too.
I mean,
switch back for breakfast. Do you know what I mean?
Is that the only situation you can think of where you would like to swap?
You could just bum him instead.
I would like to swap out the phrase. The only situation I would like to, be involved in there, and just be like, no, it's the only situation I can see it being. What would they have invented it for?
To traverse land and
there's
time.
got to be more.
You said it can't do anything else.
I said I'm just fucking guessing.
Perhaps some like Chinese queen or something wanted to go into the body of some sumo wrestler.
You can't tell me the only thing you can think of is so that you can bum someone instead of being bummed.
Not bum somebody.
You couldn't do that anyway.
Why does it have to be bumming?
That's what you were talking
you
about.
Started this. No, you said power bottom. I just joined on that, but
You
it was
said
like
be a receiver.
it'd be like husband.
You said receiver.
Yeah, but that was just a joke. It could be husbands and wives. Like, do you know what I mean? It's more likely to be husbands and wives, but it's kind of like I just don't understand.
Is that my wife, the receiver?
I think if I could swap mine to my wife, I would not want me to have sex with me. I think that'd be too weird, man. That'd be too odd. I could not do that.
You'd be like looking up at your face.
Oh man, that'd be horrible.
You'd like that?
I'd definitely 100% be watching my dick. 100%.
I couldn't watch myself having sex with myself. That'd be horrible.
You wouldn't be watching yourself. You'd have like your missus' body.
Yeah, but you still have to look yourself in the eyes.
Would you have
You would
yourself
see your own comfort.
hanging out the back of yourself?
No, definitely. No, I don't think I could. I don't think I could. No, definitely not.
That shit would make you go fucking mad. That's the shit that would melt your brain, innit?
But that was another bit of this film which didn't pick that up. They have the bad guys body swap, and then I was like, oh, there's going to be a nice little stinger here. They'll see them again because they haven't been able to swap back. But they didn't pick it up. I even fast forwarded to the end of the film. I thought they've got to reference that again.
There's a lot of stuff they didn't reference, so
Yeah.
they didn't take
I mean,
advantage
like,
of. The whole Christmas theme
Yeah.
was like the main one.
So they do the swap, and then they jump on.
They literally barge in
They
and-
steal a
and
fucking
Charlie-
police bike.
Charlie just goes. He just
There's
goes
a
and
midget on a police bike.
That's great.
That was quite fun. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, how they reclaim the skull from there. He just like literally walks in. And he's like, I warned you, and just takes it off him and leaves him in that cabin. I mean, do they get...
I think they were frozen with confusion, weren't they?
Yeah, you would be.
So then, in order to escape, Charlie tells a policeman that there is somebody being attacked up on the line, so the policeman runs off, leaves his bike unattended, and they jump
GTA
on.
it, don't they?
Yeah.
There's some good 80s police car stunts when they're skidding around
The
corners.
skids, the classic
It
skids.
really
Yeah,
is
it's
like
got-
very nearly straight away when they take off on that bike. It's like two cars have to split
Yeah.
straight away.
A nice little set piece.
I can't tell at that point whether they would have swapped Fred Savage for a stuntman or whether it was something that was so well choreographed he could just do the little takeoff bit, because you don't see the edit.
They
for it to
swapped
be-
a stuntman's mind into Fred Savage to do that one bit.
He was the receiver.
You need a collar to pull there. So they have this fun little chase, which ends with them getting nicked. Now this is quite a funny scene when they're in the police station. Like Judge Reinhold.
He's crying. That's funny.
Yeah, a kid in his body, like, you know,
Yeah.
he's proper sobbing. Like, he's terrified. Yeah, so the stepdad comes in. tells
He's
them-
fucking sound, he is, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to tell your mum. He's like, fair play.
Yeah, no, he's sorted. So he turns out to be mates with old Cappy as well. So he has a chat with him, and I think he says he gets the counts dropped to 7, which is probably still going to be followed up, I would have thought.
Judge Reinhold's like, I know a fucking amazing lawyer, don't worry. Fred Savage says that, doesn't he, too? I like to think that the lawyer he knows is Kevin McAllister's dad from Home Alone in this connected 80s universe.
Both in
Yeah.
Chicago.
Exactly. Yeah.
Completely irrelevant, but just something that I thought until I was old enough when I watched this film again. But there's a bit in that police station where he says, I'm going to get you an excellent attorney, and he said, in your defence is executive burnout. For years and years and years, I thought his defence was his defence lawyer, and his name was Executive Bernard or something like that.
Executive burnout. What a fucking...
That's a great code name.
Fucking hell, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah.
Sounds like a fucking transformer.
I never knew, like, you know, I think executive burnout went out with the uppies, didn't it? So it's like, it was not a phrase I was used to hearing, but yeah.
So they kind of get off of the charges, and Fred Savage has to go back to living with what is effectively his ex-wife and her new husband, which must be shit, man, for him.
I mean,
So
awful,
shit.
wouldn't it?
It'd be fucking like in the room next door. Yeah.
His mum walked straight in on him in the bath, didn't she? Or, like, you know, his ex-wife.
Yes. Yeah. So they go back there to individual places. Thingy comes round to see Judge Reinhold, and then she's going to declare their love. He says, "No, we've got to go and give this."
This present.
This present.
Another reference to Christmas.
Yes.
One of the four.
Here it comes.
One of the four references
This
to
is
Christmas.
the Christmas payday.
But he didn't say it's a Christmas present.
No. It's a
Just
present.
it's a present.
However,
It's
when
not
he
even
turns,
wrapped in Christmas paper.
when he turns up at the house, he does say Happy Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Yes, he does. And there's fucking snow on the ground, and there's Christmas lights around the house.
So he climbs up into his room, and they both get naked. And I thought they were going to set up that the mum was going to come in, and which I thought that's going to be weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than
It's quite
not
a
ripping their
massive
clothes, there was no
plot
need for
twist
them both to be naked,
Yeah.
was there?
Yeah.
At least put a towel around yourselves.
Yeah. And they sort of transfer. And the ending of this film is just odd. It kind of
It
just
is.
like
The fucking credits come up.
Yeah.
Oh, he asked her to marry him, doesn't he, as well?
Yes.
Well, that's
Yeah,
what
oh
I was-
yes, in the car. Yeah.
And that's just fucking stupid, isn't it? That's an 11-year-old, like, fucking married.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Not quite ready for that yet.
Yeah, well, I think he knows. He knows that
He
his dad.
knows.
He knows that his dad wants to do it, but he just isn't capable of doing it. That's his parting gift, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's doing something good for his dad.
And then the credits roll.
And the ending's like.
But do you know what? They
It's
don't.
just not very good compared to the rest of the film. I thought the rest of the film's alright, and then the ending's just a bit like.
It was a lovely
and
end.
they don't even freeze frame it.
He's just looking out the window.
Because you see him blink every now and again. It's like real Harry M. film.
Could have at least fucking snowed or something. Do you know what I mean? At the end, some sort of Christmas.
They didn't have the
thing.
budget for that.
No. So yeah, I thought it just ends on a bit of a blur. There should have been another scene after that. There should have been a scene with him at work. You see him now.
Or at
It's
least
fucking
like some
Christmas
after
Eve.
credit stuff where it cut to and showed what they did after the film.
Even like the two thieves or whatever, they should have shown something with them, some farce of them trying to get the.
Now that the woman was a receiver.
Dad, are you receiving me?
You could have had like the male guy in prison or whatever, but he's got his towel wrapped him round him like a lady with a towel on his head or something like that, and then her and the female. There could have been a lot of comedy there.
Room for a sequel, maybe.
Well, maybe not. Well, I think
set at Halloween.
It was
with no pumpkins.
So I know you said it made 13 million, but it was considered a flop.
Yes.
I think at the time. I actually think this is quite a good film. I did enjoy it and I did laugh. I think if Big hadn't come out the same fucking year, it would have done a lot better.
Quite strange. I wonder if they knew beforehand that they had in the line a fucking body swap and they were like, fuck, we got to do one as well.
That Vice Versa is based on a story from like the 1800s or something. It's been adapted like for films and TV like 9 times. It was a British TV series in the early 80s and there's been loads of like TV things in place. So obviously the body swap thing and specifically Vice Versa was a thing. And I think what happens with those studio things, somebody goes around pitching it to studios and like, nah, we don't want it. And then when the guy goes, like, yeah, we're fucking doing that.
Yeah.
And then I think because they stay secret so long, it gets so far along production that when they do find out, they're like, oh, fuck it. It's better to finish the film than scrap it. I think Big is better.
Because bigger is better.
I did laugh out loud, I think 4 or 5 times during Vice Versa. I think it's quite good. But there's just a couple of things that didn't quite work.
Yeah, and a lot of open-ended stuff, like you said, that there was still plenty of comedy to wring out of it.
I kind of enjoyed the ending actually. I thought it was quite
it was
nice.
over.
No, I thought it was quite nice. It was quite like, oh.
Yeah,
Because you saw them drive off into that snowy
There was
horizon.
there was literally no snow on the roads.
They're efficient with the ploughing to all on the pavements.
Yeah.
the director was an English guy, I think.
He didn't do very much.
Like the other thing he directed like a year after this was like an episode of Smith and Jones. And he fucking, I know, and then he's done like a couple of films like throughout his career, all the way up to like the sort of noughties. He was still making movies, but it's like one every 5 years. It's a very weird sort of career when you look at it. I think one of the writers as well wrote like fucking Auf Wiedersehen Pet and some other shit. So I'm going to suggest we give this film 2 scores. We give it a score as a Christmas film.
I was going to say the same.
And we give it a score as a film.
Good idea.
Who wants to go first?
Tarby should go first. It's his film.
Okay, so like I said, I've owned this film for like 20 years and never watched it because that's how much I watched it as a kid. It's all watched out. I just had an opportunity to buy it and thought I will, just to have it. So it's one of my original top films when I was a kid. So as a film, I would give it a 7, and some of that is sentimental. I think as a film, it's probably a 5.5, 6, and the 7 is for sentimentality, so I'm giving it a 7. As a Christmas film, I'm going in strong as a 1.5.
That's generous.
So I actually quite enjoyed it. I thought it was fairly inoffensive, wasn't it? It was just quite funny. There was some funny bits in there. I liked the ending. I thought it was quite nice. I'm going to give it a 5, only because...
You said, I thought you were going to give it a higher score.
No, only
you
because...
You were bigging it up then.
Yeah, no, but it wasn't quite funny enough to sort of like make me want to watch it again. It was good, but it's just one of those sort of classic body swap. They have a little bit of shit in the middle and then they redeem themselves at the end and all that sort of stuff. So I wouldn't watch it again. That's a 5. Christmas film, 1. I mean, there's a little bit of snow and there's a tree.
Yeah.
I am going to give it a 7.
Oh.
I thought it was feel good. I liked the 2 main characters. It had enough like side characters that have other stuff. It was fun. It wasn't cynical anyway, and it was just enjoyable. So I give it a 7. Mm-hmm. And as a Christmas film, it's going to have to be a 0.5. Because I can't go any lower. I mean, there's 2 shots of the Christmas tree in. I forgot that the Santa was in the street randomly. And he says it's Christmas at the end.
Merry Christmas.
But other than that, other than those 4 things, it's fuck all to do with Christmas.
Yeah. I agree. I would give it a 7 as well. I did enjoy it. I think it is funny in places. I think it could have been, just with a few tweaks, it could have been really, really, really good.
Could have been really festive with a few tweaks.
It could have so easily been festive. There's so much of it that could have been festive. And it was like they chose. It's like they purposely tried not to do it festive. It's like he didn't want to set it at Christmas, and what somebody in the studio was like, "You've got to set this film at Christmas. It'll make millions." And he's like, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" You've got to put a tree in it, and we'll put a Santa in it, and that's it.
With a budget of 11 million, and you've
how much is Tinsel?
Well, no.
Just film it at Christmas.
No, but I mean, like what I'm saying. Okay, so I'm like just 11 million. You've got to get your sets, you've got to get your locations, you've got to get your cameras, and you've got to pay your actors. There can't have been fucking any change. They've made like fucking 2 million on this film. It's not as good as I remember it being in the eyes of everybody else. Obviously,
it doesn't stop it being a Christmas film.
Well, I don't think that you can rely on, like, it was filmed in Chicago. If it was in New York, you've got like Rockefeller Center where they do the big Christmas tree. I don't know what Chicago does. You know, didn't look like they had a lot of stuff at their disposal. They were kind of relying on the natural environment, and the natural environment was shit.
I imagine they'd still have decorations.
A lot of it takes place in the store, though. Do you know what I mean? They could decorate that up.
It was much of a Christmas film as fucking Ghostbusters 2 is. Unless you're going to make a point of it being a Christmas, just fucking set it at another time of year. That's what I think with the film. So yeah, 7, I did enjoy it. So a few missed opportunities. As a Christmas film, yeah, fucking 1. Yeah, it's like, it's not a Christmas film. It is just set coincidentally at Christmas.
I mean, let's be fair. I did,
You dropped the bollock.
Yeah, no, that's a given. But I did say that this was a film set at Christmas, not a Christmas film. But I did think that there was more fucking Christmas theme in it.
Yeah, it could have been set at any time of the year.
Like I said, as I was
It wouldn't
watching
have
it, I was
affected
like
the
just
story.
fucking thinking of things to say, and on the other hand, thinking of all the shit I was going to have to take.
But that being said, we all enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So for viewers at home, yeah, fucking
Watch it.
give it a go. It is worth a watch.
And it's acted real well.
It is, yeah.
They were real good, the pair of them.
You give it a 5. I don't think you can praise
Yeah,
it.
no, only just because I just thought it was.
You
it's
even
just
enjoyed
middle
the
of
end.
road. It's
You-
middle of the road.
You enjoyed the end, which nobody else enjoyed, and you still gave it a 5.
But it's just, I don't know. Maybe 5 is a little harsh. But the acting was good.
So if you're looking to watch it, it could be Easter, could be summer.
You could watch it at
You
Halloween.
could literally watch any time of the year.
Christmas will be best.
It will be fine.
Sandwich it between Trading Places and yeah.
It's like it was set in that gap between Christmas and New Year where fuck all happens. That's
Yeah.
what it felt like. You know, and all the festive spirit's gone.
I mean, that's another
Just
thing.
don't know
Like,
what
none
it
of
is.
their outdoor shots were like, apart from the police chase, like none of the outdoor scenes were like very busy. It was like they got all the extras into that department store, and that was their budget for that as well, or something. And it was like, right, so now we're just shooting in streets.
Yeah. So not great.
But yeah, but you know, it got a better overall response as a film. I'm glad that you did do that, Murph, and sort of offer it 2 options because yeah, I think it would have got a right panning if it was to vote it as a Christmas film.
Yeah. Cool.
So yeah, but lesson learned.
Good. All right then. Well, we hope you all have a merrier Christmas than we did watching Vice Versa, and normal podcast stuff will continue from next week.
Banging. Merry
Bye.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I'm off to watch Saving Private Ryan.
Raccoon